The mindset blocks women experience. Hello, welcome to Women's Financial Empowerment Group. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you're new here, please go ahead and like this video, share it, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. Please go ahead and like, share, do all those wonderful things. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you'll know whenever I upload a new video. On this channel, I discuss all things money mindset, making money, saving money, investing money, and more. So you're going to want to come back over and over to hear what I have in store for you. And if you want to hear more about me and what I do, stay with me to the end of the video and I'll share that information with you. Everyone, I just want you to know that we have a special guest with us today, and I'm so excited to talk about the topic of the mindset blocks women experience. So if you have some mindset blocks, you definitely want to stick around to the end so you can hear everything that our guest has to share with us today. Today, we have Lashana West. Lashana West is a business therapist and mindset coach. So she's going to share more about what she does, and she's going to share about her company. So let's welcome Lashana West. Hi, Lashana.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. I'm doing great. It's great to have you on. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's my pleasure. I was just telling my viewers, our viewers, just your name and your company name, and that's about it. So I'd love if you could share with our viewers what you do.
Awesome. So my name is Lashana West. I'm a business therapist and mindset coach. I'm the CEO of Accountability on Demand. Accountability on Demand is like a business confidence incubator for entrepreneurs, CEOs, and leaders who want to crush the mindset blocks that's stopping them from launching and growing their business. We are super excited to just partner with individuals to really help them overcome the negative thinking. I call it the stinking thinking, imposter syndrome, and mindset blocks that continue to hold them back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So we're going to just go ahead and dive in today. So Lashana, tell me what's like the biggest issue that women are having when it comes to mindset.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think it is the 4-letter word, FEAR. Fear continues to hold not only women, but I think everyone back. But when I think of women specifically, fear of success or fear of failure. And it's a lot of the, well, what if this? Well, what if that? What if I do really well and then I can't sustain it? A lot of that projection and that fear mongering literally stems from like a cloud over their head. And we have a choice to push past the fear or let the fear hold us back. And that's one of the main things that I work with my clients on.
Awesome. So you mentioned fear of success. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. Can you share a little bit about what that looks like?
Most times when people fear success, they're literally assuming the worst. Because if I have a fear of failure, I am thinking, okay, if I invest in this, will it work? If I launch this business, will anyone buy? The fear of success is, okay, when I launch this business, what if it does well and I can't keep it up? I can't maintain the 6 figures or the millionaire mark that I've made, or there's so many people, how am I going to be able to serve them all? So it's creating clouds of dust. I always say, is it feelings or facts? Well, if it hasn't happened yet, it can't be a fact. It's literally you projecting and having that feeling of the what if, and then it just creates this little monster.
Is this very common amongst the business women that you work with?
Yeah, both. Fear of failure, fear of success. If I had to choose, most definitely would be fear of failure would be on the higher ranking, but fear of success continues to kind of intercede as well.
Wow, I had no idea that fear of success was such a big deal. I know that fear of failure is something I see over and over working with women, especially women that are hesitant to work on themselves, join my coaching program and start making changes because they get stuck feeling like, oh, well, I've tried so many things and it hasn't worked. And even though they want to make a change, they kind of feel like, oh, what if it doesn't work? Kind of thing. So I definitely see more of the fear of the failure. So it's very interesting that you're pointing out fear of success as a thing, because I haven't really seen that much in my area, but definitely, even though I touch on mindset, that's not my sum total of what I do. So I think it's awesome that you can speak to both. When it comes to business women, is there anything in particular that causes them to have this fear when it comes to their business?
Yeah, well, it really depends on what kind of fear, right? Because most people, it could be the fear of starting, the fear of the business growing, the fear of the what ifs. And so I believe that the root cause stems from their own inner stuff they have going on. Because if I lack confidence, if I have experienced unresolved childhood trauma, dysfunctional upbringing, and I don't do my inner work, that junk is going to be dragged into the next situation, the next opportunity. It's not like, oh, I just put it in a little box and I no longer deal with it. You're still dragging it, but it's subconsciously being dragged. And what we do, we project the unresolved stuff into the current. It's almost like being cheated on in a relationship, and you're not in the relationship anymore. You're with someone else, but you're still wondering, oh my God, is he going to do the same thing? Is she going to do the same thing? Are they going to do the same thing that that person did to me? And then you start to assume and create these narratives and these stories when potentially it's not even true.
Okay, so it seems like there's a level of stuckness, I would call it. I don't even know if that's a real word, but it seems like there's a level of being stuck in the past, or being stuck in like a past.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, awesome. So for the women that you work with, do they just come and seek you out because they're having difficulties, or are they recommended to you? Like, how do women normally start working with you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I'm very active on social with sharing my expertise and value. I speak live at different events. Some of my clients refer their friends. The biggest thing is when people know that they have a mindset block, they start to go search for someone to help them. And so they may put in therapist, business therapist, mindset coach, life coach. They start to do the research and try to find out who is this person that can help me. And because that's what I do, that's literally how we connect.
Okay, that makes sense. So outside of fear, because we talked a little about the two different types of fears that women have expressed to you when they're in business, outside of fear, what are some of the other mindset challenges that women face?
Yeah, I would say imposter syndrome for sure. And if some people are not too familiar with imposter syndrome is the inner critic telling you that you're not enough, that you don't belong at the table. And at some point, everyone's going to find out that you're a fraud. And this really impacts people who actually have the accolades, have the degrees, have the skills, have the knowledge, and everyone around them knows that they're great. But I don't feel like I am when really I am. So I call it that you're hating on your own self. Imposter syndrome impacts over 90% of the people in the world. I'm talking about from the late, great Maya Angelou, Beyonce, Serena Williams, Michelle Obama. So many people have shared with struggling with imposter syndrome. And I feel like we go through different levels of imposter syndrome with every new thing that we have to do. Like when I was in corporate and I moved into entrepreneurship, I probably had imposter syndrome. And when I hit my first six figures and I'm moving on to multiple six figures in the millionaire mark, there's new levels, new opportunities, new fear situations where imposter syndrome will continue to creep in. But as long as you know how to deal with it and cope with it, it's a normal feeling.
Yes, I definitely can relate to that. I've experienced that more than I would like. And I feel like it was every time when I elevate, every time when I get to a next level, it's like, where are you going? Get back. And like, you don't belong there.
That's exactly it.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Who do you think you are?
Yes. And it's like,
sure.
like you see those cartoons with the little guy or the little girl on your shoulder talking to you. It's like, stop it. And I do remember hearing Michelle Obama talk about that. And I think not only were the people who she was talking to kind of surprised, I was surprised too. I was like, really? You're Michelle Obama? But I guess you said anybody could go through that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more common with women versus men?
Yes, I do, because men seem to be more confident and move their weight around. And even if they're not confident, they will push through anyways. Think about, trying out for a basketball team, football team, whatever. The scrawniest person, the most unathletic person, if that's a word, will still try out because I'm gonna do it anyways. For women, it's like, well, this has to be perfect. I got to make sure this happens. We're in our head. Men are more logical. We are more emotional. So the emotions can get in the way of us actually following through. You can talk yourself in, or you can talk yourself out.
That is such a good point. Wow. That is definitely a good point, because I do believe that there are differences between women and men when it comes to this imposter syndrome, because I feel like we have so many things stacked against us as far as the world of work goes. Whether or not we're an entrepreneur or we're in a career, it just seems like there's so many additional challenges that make us kind of second guess ourselves. So I think that is just such an interesting dynamic there. So when it comes to imposter syndrome, what is like one thing that women can do to kind of overcome that?
Yeah, so I have a framework. It's called the 6A+ method to accountability. At the end of the day, I have to be accountable for myself, right? And so the first step is awareness. In order to crush imposter syndrome, you got to be aware. I have to be aware that I'm shrinking, that I'm lacking confidence, and I'm feeling insecure about X, Y, Z. And once I become aware, I have to acknowledge what I'm aware of. Because you can be aware of it, but if you don't acknowledge it, you're ignoring it, you're dismissing it, and you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, you're not really bringing power to it. After you're aware and you acknowledge, you need to assess people, places, and things that don't serve you. Many times the imposter syndrome is fed because of the people you're around, the environments that you are going to, the things that you're doing, scrolling on Instagram aimlessly and comparing yourself to other people because they're doing the things that you feel like you should be doing, right? So you have to assess people, places, and things that don't serve you, and then analyze what is going to be your next step so you can literally get to the root cause of it. Because in my opinion, imposter syndrome literally could be beneficial if you address it correctly, or it could taint who you are. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're competitive and you got this little inner critic saying, girl, you can't do it, watch me, I'm going to show you, right? Or, you know what, you're right, I can't do it, let me just stay in my little bubble. It's like that tug of war with self.
Yes.
And once you analyze it, then you want to activate a plan. That's number 5, activate a plan. So like one of my coping skills is positive self-talk. So let's just say I was nervous about this interview beforehand. Okay, Lashana, you got this. They want to hear what you have to say. There's somebody out there that needs what you have. You're pumping yourself up. You're being your own cheerleader. But in retrospect, it could be, okay, I'm nervous. I hope I don't stutter. Is my hair right? Oh my God, my background, it looks a hot mess. You're amplifying everything to where you can't even focus and you can't even show up and perform, right? And then that last part is asking for help. Sometimes you're doing all the things and you actually need a business therapist like myself, or a life coach, or a mindset coach, or an actual mental health therapist to help you with what may be underlying issues that's more severe. So I know you asked for one, but there's no way for me to just give you one tip. I had to give you my framework.
That is okay. And I love that framework. Yeah. I could see how I love frameworks in general. I could see the progression, and I love that. I'm glad that you pointed that out. But I want to go back to what you said before about assessing the people, places, and things that you're exposed to. Oh my gosh. I remember having to take a little break from Instagram because I was totally feeling that imposter syndrome, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really should be posting like that, and oh my gosh, I'm not posting enough, and oh my gosh, and it became overwhelming to the point where I was like, shut it off.
Yeah.
Just shut it off. Just don't.
And guess what, Ruth? Some people shut their business off because of that.
Really? Wow.
They stop doing what they're doing because they don't feel they're good enough. Keisha did it better. Why would anyone hire me? And they go down a negative hole.
Wow. And that's why what you do is so needed, because I mean, if people will really reach out, because that is like, most of the time, at least the people that I speak to that start a business, they really have a heart for it. That's
Mhm.
their love. And for them to shut it down because of something like that, that's really heartbreaking. But mindset
Yeah,
can make or break you. So I totally understand that.
for
So
sure.
there's one part of mindset that I know that you deal with, and this is something
Mhm.
that I deal with on a regular basis because I mainly work
Mhm.
with moms. I work with women in general, but mostly moms, right? And it's mom guilt. So I definitely would like you to
Yeah.
address that because I see that so much as a financial coach, where moms are just really feeling stuck because, oh, they have to do all these things because they have kids, or they don't want to do certain things because they have kids, and they just get so stuck, in their
Yeah.
mind because of the fact that they're a mom. So I would love if you could speak a little bit about mom guilt.
Sure. So I think most women struggle with mom guilt for two reasons. Number one, they feel like they're not doing enough,
Hmm.
or they feel like they're doing so much that the kids are getting lost in the sauce and they're not being seen, heard, and cared after. But I think there's another layer of mom guilt as well, where we start to resent being a mom because we're doing so much for everyone else that we're not doing enough for self.
Hmm.
And with all of those layers, you walk around unhappy, unfulfilled, and no matter how much you give, it's not enough, which then bleeds into your parenting, into your relationships, into your business. How does it bleed into parenting? Well, if I don't feel like I'm giving my kids enough time, then I'm going to pour on the gifts and the toys and the other stuff. They're not getting attention, they're getting things.
Yes.
That doesn't help either. Not setting boundaries, not doing the timeouts because, well, they haven't seen me in so many days and so many weeks or whatever. Just let them have it. That will end up to bite you in the butt as well, right?
Yes,
And then
definitely.
the other piece of mom guilt is not even giving yourself enough credit or grace for how hard you're working, to where you're your worst own critic, your worst enemy, when actually you're doing an amazing job and they love you no matter what. And one thing I had to tell my daughter, there was like a stint where I was juggling being an adjunct professor, working a 9 to 5, and building my business. This is temporary. The days where we're not hanging out, you can't talk to me because I'm on back-to-back meetings, this is temporary. And I've been gone from corporate for 2 years now. But there was like a 9-month piece where I couldn't be the best mom because I wasn't even my best self, right?
Mm.
There will be seasons where we are not our best, but you cannot hold that against yourself.
Yes, yes, that is so true. And I think it's not even that we can't be our best, but we can't be our best at everything at every time. And that's
Mhm.
where we get stuck, because we're like, if we're not doing all the things right all at the same time, then we just beat up
Right.
ourselves. And it's funny that you mentioned that interaction with your daughter. I remember just, I think it was yesterday or some days ago, telling my son, I know, I'll play with the Legos with you, because they're always like, oh, you're always working. And I do give them time, but sometimes kids are, they want more. But it's just
Oh, they will say it.
true. They
Like, but when they make those statements, I hear it, but I'm just like, so you mean to tell me all your life I've been like this, in the first week or month where I'm not at your beck and call? Oh, you never, girl, it is so interesting.
your environment, see, your environment.
Yeah.
So I really can relate to that, just feeling like, hey, there are seasons, and right now during this 2-week block where I'm welcoming new clients, it's super busy, but it's not always going to be like that. And I think part of the mom guilt and learning to overcome that, for me at least, and you can talk more about that, is learning to give myself grace for the times that I
Mhm.
don't show up like I should, or
Yeah.
like I really
Yeah.
want to, just given that grace. So can you talk a little bit
Mhm.
more about like how to overcome that mom guilt?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I always preach about giving yourself grace, because at the end of the day, every mom wants to be the best mom that they can be. But what is your perception of best? For
Mm.
some, it may be sitting at the dinner table instead of everybody just running amok and eating all over the house. For some, it might be make, I'm just saying. For some, it might be making sure that you take your kids to the bus stop. For some, it might be making sure that you're there to do bedtime routine, bath routine. Let's find the pockets of time where you could still shine in the area you want to shine in, instead of, like you said, trying to be the best at every single thing. That's not realistic. I think that leans more into perfectionism. Like, that's not realistic at all, right? So give yourself grace, number one. Number two, what is your hack? Are you communicating with the kids so they can be on the journey with you? Okay, guys, you guys know for the next 2 hours, mom is working on her business. So what are you going to be doing for the 2 hours? Okay, you're prepping dinner. How about you? What are you doing? You're doing homework? Let's make it a collaborative thing instead of see you later. They don't know where you're at. Then they're knocking on the door and messing with you, right? Because no one shared what's going on.
I love that. I'm going to incorporate that a little bit more than I have been, to be honest. Thank you for that.
How old are your kids?
The ones that I have still at home, I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and they're all boys. So
gotcha.
It's
okay.
Pretty wild here sometimes, but I think that I do communicate with them to let them know why it is that I'm going so hard at a certain period of time, and I share with them after I get off of a call how it went, just so they don't feel like, oh, she's always locked in there and we have no idea what she's actually trying to accomplish here. So I do try to involve them as much as I can in the process, so so stay cohesive. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, and maybe you could talk a little bit towards this vein as well, is that when it comes to mom guilt, I feel like it stops a lot of women from being successful in different areas. In my case, as a financial coach, I see it stop a lot of women from being successful with managing their money, because it goes back to what you were talking about. Sometimes they're overcompensating, especially single moms, when there's no dad there. So they feel like they have to give everything to their detriment. They're bankrupt. They have no money to spend on another toy, but they're going to spend money on another toy. They're going to prioritize that. And so it's like that mom guilt just gets in the way. So you can speak a little bit to how mom guilt really gets in the way for your clients.
Yeah. So I think mom guilt gets in the way, and it stops women from being their best self in life and business. So if I have mom guilt, no, I don't have time to build a business because I don't even have time for the kids. If I build a business, it's going to take more time away from them. I don't have time to date because I need to make sure I'm at every basketball game, right? I don't have time for self-care because I need to do this for the kids, because if I don't, they're going to resent me like I resented my mom because she didn't have time for me. It's that negative cycle and pattern, that unresolved trauma I talked to you about earlier, that you literally drag into the current moment. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes when there's a big gap between ages, let's say you got a 25-year-old and you got a 15-year-old. Oh, I can't raise little Tommy how I raise such and such because da-da-da-da-da. They're different people. This is a different age. Your resources are different. So how about clean slate, new opportunity, new circumstance, and giving yourself grace and remembering you're in charge. So whatever you want it to look like, it can look like that. No one is in charge but you. So even if, let's just say, I've been a sucky mom for the past 10 years, well, for whatever reason, which in my opinion does not exist, because we birthed them and we're going to show up every single day and take care of them. But anyways, I can make the decision today that I'm no longer going to be a sucky mom. And a year from now, a month from now, a week from now, I'm now better than I was prior. So I can't hold myself hostage to the past. Because there are some people who are not stepping up in their parenthood. I mean, we're not all being what and who we're supposed to be. We struggle in different areas, right? But you can make a decision to change in the moment right now.
I love that. I love that. Making a decision. You've said a lot. And when I say when I say you've said a lot, I don't mean you've used a lot of words. I mean, like, it's deeper than a lot of people think about it. Because I think when it comes to being a mom, there's so many layers. You're responsible for another human being. And then when it comes to then being a business owner on top of that, you're responsible for a dream. So you've got heavy loads on each level. To be able to kind of assess your own situation and just realize, okay, I'm doing too much here, or I'm doing too much there, or it takes a lot. It takes a great level of self-awareness to be able to do that. And I believe
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I love about mindset work as a coach, and also for you as a mindset coach, because I feel like it may seem simple to some people, but it's not that simple. And being able to
No.
have that professional to really walk you through those stages and phases, it really makes such a difference. Oh my gosh, it really makes such a difference. So I really love that that's um something that you work on, to that mom guilt, because people throw it around all the time. On internet, people just throw around different words, but then when we really
Right.
get into it, it's so much deeper than we think. And I mean, this is
Oh
things that
yeah.
causing women to cry at night, causing them to have sleepless nights. And so while people may joke about it in a meme or whatever, it's really something that can really harm people, like you said, packing up their businesses because of imposter syndrome. The same thing with mom guilt, just
Hmm.
neglecting things that are important to them because of that mom guilt. So I love that we talked about that. Is there another area of mindset that you want to address today?
No, I mean, I think we've covered a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, mindset matters. And in my opinion, mindset means mental health,
Mm,
because how you perceive things is how you perceive things. It's your reality. And it's impacted by your past, your upbringing, your knowledge, your lack of knowledge. And so we have to pay attention and be kind to our mind, because when we're not being kind to our mind and we're projecting negativity and we're, oh, you look big, you look big in that outfit, oh, your lashes aren't done, your hair's a mess. When you tell yourself these negative things, you're training your brain on how to treat you.
I
So you
love
have to tell yourself positive things so you can teach your brain how to treat you,
that.
right? So yeah, it's definitely deeper than what meets the eye for sure.
I love that. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. It went by
Thank
so
you.
fast, but I definitely
Yeah.
had a good time. And I hope in the future you can come back and talk some more about mindset training and things like that with us. But it was really great having you on. Before you go, please tell
Mhm.
our viewers how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. So they can reach me on all things social at Lashana West, my first and last name. And also, if anyone feels like this conversation resonated and they want to book a complimentary clarity call, all they have to do is DM the word breakthrough on Instagram and have a complimentary discovery call.
Thank you so much again for coming on. I know you're super busy, but we really appreciate you taking out this time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for staying with me throughout this wonderful talk that I had with Lashana. If you haven't already liked this video, shared it, or leave a comment in the description, let us know what you thought of it. Please go ahead and do that right now. I promised that I would share a little bit more about me and what I do. I am a financial empowerment coach for women. I help women manage their money better so that they can build wealth and leave a legacy for their children. Thank you again for watching. And remember, change your mind, change your pocketbook. See you in the next video.